All right, if you just joined us, you're still on Enterprise Morning, reaching you from our headquarters in Lagos, Nigeria, Enterprise Television. It is. Let's move to our main conversation for today. More than 1,400 Nigerian youth who participated in the 10-day hashtag End Bad Governance protest have been held in police custody across the country. Many are detained in Abuja, Kano, and Kaduna with limited access to food and legal representation.
Very true. Now, despite promises to arraign them in court, the police have refused to do so, sparking concerns about their well-being and the violation of their rights. Now, 3 activists, Adaramoye Leni, Mosiu Sadiq, and Elejo Okwaluwa, have been held for 2 weeks without charges.
And also, civil society organizations have accused the government of playing a game of suppression and violating the protesters' rights. The government's action have been condemned, with many questioning the legality of detaining protesters without charge.
And it is, or is there a part of the story we're not being told about? Let's go there. Henry.
Yes, very true. There we have it. Of course, we have joining us virtually Dr. Ambrose Ibuke, public affairs commentator. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right,
Good morning.
and thank you so very much for giving us your time. And still with us in the studios, we have Barrister Vance Ufeli and Barrister Tunji Abdulhamid. Thank you for hanging on.
My pleasure.
All right, so let's get into the crux of the matter here, Dr. Ambrose. We have it about 1,400 protesters are still held in custody, and the Nigerian police and of course the respective authorities aren't doing anything about it. Does this bring us back to the days of military dictatorship when clampdowns are done with nobody taking responsibility for it?
Let me give a background or historical background of the Nigerian police.
Okay.
The Nigerian police was founded during the colonial masters, during the colonial imperialism, where the colonialists saw they called us the natives or the indigenes as people who are troublemakers. Therefore, they set up the police called warrant officers to ensure that the indigenes did not cause trouble. So the police, or warrant officers at that time, who were metamorphosed into police, were people who were making sure that they were, subjugating the indigenes for the purpose of, for the pleasure of the colonialists. Unfortunately, that constabulary police training are metamorphosed in independence, and they carried that mentality. So the police has kept on seeing themselves as people who are loyal to the government in power. The police keep seeing themselves as people who must maltreat the citizens, who must subdue the citizens, who must torture the citizens, who must deal with the citizens. They see the citizens as nuisance. And that has been the mentality over the years. Unfortunately, even the removal of force from the name Nigerian Police Force, that has not helped matters, because when the Nigerian Police Force were removing the force from the name, they said they wanted to make the police more friendly, to just say the Nigerian police. So it was supposed to be the other way around. The police are supposed to be friends of the citizens. The police are supposed to offer protection for the citizens. The police are supposed to be on the side of the citizens. And for an event like a protest, that is the legitimate instrument in democracy, the police are supposed to provide protection, not clamping down on the citizens. But what we saw was a lot of clamping down. Even the Eagle Square that was supposed to be used, they didn't do that. Remember that during the imperialism, we were not allowed to gather. We were not allowed to have peaceful assembly, because the colonialists thought that any meeting held by Nigerians were for, to usurp the colonialist rule and entrench independence. So they said before you meet, you must have a permit, or before you gather in public, you must have a permit. That still in 2021, even after the courts have ruled in Nigeria that to protest or to a peaceful gathering, for a peaceful protest, that the citizens don't need permit. The police still comes in 2024 to tell citizens to write to them to for permission. No, you are supposed to just write to the police to notify them so that they can provide protection and provide security during such a protest. But I think our police still needs a lot of overhauling because what is happening now, it takes us back to the to Aba Women riot, to the riots of even Eva Valley in Enugu here, where mine workers were shot dead because they were protesting. And these things are almost like 100 years old, and we are still behaving this way. So does it mean that we have not moved forward as a nation in terms of our mental being, in terms of the way we see governance, even in the 21st century? So coming to the fact that people were being detained, yeah, we have peculiar cases like in Borno and Kano where it was a riot rather than a protest. But let's even talk about places like Abuja, places that it was not riotous, that it was just peaceful protest. First of all, they were denied the use of Eagle Square, which is wrong because Eagle Square is a public space. And a lot of things, we saw them clamping down. We saw people were marching peacefully, being sprayed with pepper spray and, being sprayed with tear gas, water cannon and the rest. And these people were not violent at all. They were just marching to deliver a message and the rest. Now, when you clamp down 1,400 people across the country, and this is 2 weeks later, we're going to the third week, and you have not arraigned them, then something is wrong with our system.
Thank you.
Because the police is usually very okay with, arresting people, detaining them, then go and look for investigation after detaining people. And then even go to court and say, we want to detain this person because we have not finished our investigation. Meanwhile, efficient policing we have seen in other climes like Europe and where we try to copy all these things from America suggests the fact that investigation must have been concluded before you even go pick the person.
All right, thank you.
And this allows them to arraign the person in court within 24 hours. But in our own case, it's different. Yet we encourage this kind of behavior.
Thank you very much,
so
Dr.
Nigerians that are supposed to be in court are still languishing in detention. This is very, very wrong. Especially for democracy in the 21st century.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Ambrose. Miss.
Okay, so I'd like to see that. Let's start from the origin of this protest, right? The people said that they are hungry. A lot of things are happening that are not favoring the citizens of the nation. And then with the situation the government has placed everyone, and they decided to go on a street protest, peaceful protest, declaring their demands, saying what they want. They just want things to be better. They want food in the land where we are citizens. Now, having said that, they marched on the street, peaceful protest. That's what it's called, peaceful protest. And then they decide to act on their rights by doing that to ensure that they get the attention of the government to proffer solution to the situation. And then these people were clamped down upon, and then they, Henry, their rights were being trampled upon, and then they were arrested and they're taken into detention. What do you think about that? Do you think that, for starters, I feel that it's a very wrong move, which we all know it's a wrong move. But having said that, we all know that in this country, if you're not a child of a top politician or you're wealthy or whatever it is, you do not have a say in this country. And that has made us now say that. In our country, Nigeria, we know that the reason why these people are not being arraigned to court is because we know that it is not a wrong thing for you to actually protest. It is not wrong. But they are actually buying, it seems that they are buying time to just keep these people in detention and then not let them have their rights. Well, what do you think about that, sir?
I think, just like Doctor said,
yes,
I think it's very, very unfortunate. And in fact, keeping anybody beyond the prescribed hours or in line with what the law says is an infringement of fundamental rights. And for me, except that another of court to this effect, their right has been infringed, because you cannot keep somebody for more than 24 hours or at most 48 hours, depending on the circumstance. And today we are talking about how many weeks?
2 weeks.
We are talking about 2 weeks now, and they are still in detention. There's no charge being provided against them because there is no charge against them because properties are not done. We don't, like I said again, we don't have security agencies who are professional in their job. They see their job as that of protection of those in government. Probably because of the background, the historical background how they came about. So they see themselves as our job is to protect people in government, and we must align with people in government. And that's why you see, even when you are fighting for them, you are fighting for their interests, you are fighting for their welfare, they will see come and they will see be used to attack you, and they will still follow that line. Not because we have a country where, and today, unfortunately, so we have a president who is used to protesting, who is good in doing that, who has been a master, who has even been recognized, who has even been praised for being a expert in holding government to account in terms of the protests and all those things. In fact, they even went ahead and doing their own period to set up a radio station outside the country to attack the government, and they were proud of that today. When the government was in power, they also organized a protest. In fact, when this protest was being organized, they were using that one as an excuse to say, look, when Asiwaju, the president of Nigeria, was organizing protests, he is well known that he is associated with it, and they know that he is the one in it. So what I'm trying to say is that, look, when you have somebody who understands the effects of protesting against government, who understands the consequences of what the protest may do to his government, you want to do everything to prevent it. In other words, he will not want to allow you to exercise that right. And therefore, I see that person not as a Democrat. In other words, I see that person as somebody who wants to just law over everybody, and which is not in line with our law. So there is no offense being committed here if it's about protest, except they have another offense. And I know I will not be surprised if eventually they will be taken to court and you see the charge reads something like terrorism, what's it called, taking over of the government, what's it called again in our law, taking over of government in our law. Treasonable felony, and I won't be surprised if I see all that kind of a thing. How will they be able to sustain it? No, but that will be enough for them to keep them in custody and say, well, this is what they are being charged for. So it's unfortunate that we have a system whereby no investigation will be conducted.
Yes.
The arrest will be the first thing to be done before investigation has been done. That's not the way to go. You are putting us before the cat. Or is it, how do they put it? That's
before the horse.
Cat before the horse. So, and that's exactly what we do in this our country. And that's why you see them being in custody. It's not fair. We are all Nigerians and we are entitled to our. You see, when we fail to follow what the law says, we found ourselves in this situation. And that's why I said, when people are talking about we need to change our constitution, constitution is our problem. This is one of the reasons why I say it's not the constitution. Because the constitution does not say detain anybody for more than 24 hours. And it's being done. And that is happening. So if you do a new constitution and it's clearly stated that, they will still do what they will do and then nothing will happen. So it's about our attitude and those in government.
All right, Ambassador Vance, as a journalist, I covered the entirety of the hashtag End Bad Governance protest in Lagos here.
Very well.
I must give, to be honest to you, I must give the police at least a 3-star rating when it comes to the responsibilities in Lagos. I know too well, as I covered it, everyone that was arrested during the protest were released. The Commissioner of Police gave his word and he maintained it. Now, let's take a look at what happened in Kaduna, Maiduguri, Kano. A large number of the 1,400 were people who practically looted government properties, and they are charged for that. Not alleged. We saw it. It is there.
How are you sure that those arrested are the one that did it?
Okay. All right. But don't you think that it's good enough at least to ensure that when you go against the law, you should be prosecuted for it?
Well, the Habeas Corpus Act 1679 was one of the major laws of Great Britain that were adopted as part of our rights, part of the Constitution. And also when you look at the Bill of Rights, they are both two very significant laws before. They were actually after the Magna Carta of 1215. Now, these laws are based on human rights. The Habeas Corpus look at the human person who have been arrested or who is presumed a suspect. And it says that if you are arrested, okay, the law is that you must be brought before a court, you understand, within 24 hours. If there's a court within the vicinity of the police station, within 40 kilometers, okay, where there is none within that radius, then you cannot be detained more than 48 hours. That is the law. Now, if that is the law, whether these guys looted or not, whether they protested or not, as long as they are suspects, you are supposed to charge them to court. So it's not whether they looted or whether they are the right people or the wrong people. It's all an allegation. They were supposed to be brought before the court within 24 hours, at most 48 hours. You understand?
Yes.
Then you have to prefer a charge against them so that you can arraign them in court. They will take their plea. Then the court will grant them bail because the offense is so stated are bailable offenses. In fact, virtually every offense, apart from perhaps murder, which is also bailable, perhaps for treason and all that,
Yes.
where you now have some complications, every other offense is a bailable offense. Okay? Because you have to preserve human rights when you have the intention to also prosecute citizens who have erred or who are alleged to have committed an offense. Human rights must be preserved. But what we do in Nigeria is that in the process of penal commitment or the process of prosecuting, citizens, we erode the whole spectrum of human rights, and we feel they don't have a right. And that is tied also to the historical background that Doctor gave about the formation of Nigerian police force. Nigerian police force was formed in 1930. Then Nigeria was under colonialism. Okay, and the approach was strictly based on the fact that the natives were stubborn, according to the white man. They came from their own land,
Yes.
to our own land, to label us stubborn. You understand? So,
Yes.
at the end of the day, what you have is these policemen are not also properly trained. Now, when they also go out to carry out this function, they are not looking stricto sensu to the offense committed. They are also looking at how they can get pecuniary gain. Okay, take undue advantage of suspects, subject them to all kinds of torture, even when we have an anti-torture law in the country. Then at the end of the day, what you have is they keep them without arraignment. Okay, the situation in Lagos was different because the influence of civilization in Lagos is not the same with many other places. Okay. Not like some people didn't go violent in Lagos. Okay, in some places, but you know that a lot of people went violent. So the solution to the problem is government should ensure that it provides for the citizen according to section 14(2) of the Constitution, the security and welfare of the people, the primary purpose of government, to prevent protests. Because let me tell you this, the truth is that in Nigeria, there's nothing like peaceful protest. Nobody will give you 100% peaceful protest, because the truth is that even if those who understand the law, the middle class or middle class, who know that protest should be peaceful, there's a class in this society, the proletariats, the lowest class, that lowest cadre. Those ones don't know. In Kano, they climb the traffic light. In Kano, they stole police samples. Where are they taking it to? Who's going to buy that traffic light that they are removing? So you have that class in your society, and you created that class deliberately. You created that class deliberately. So having created that class, you can't come therefore to complain that the protest is not peaceful until you go and eradicate that illiteracy and ignorance that this is a byproduct of governance. So as long as that class exists, you are not going to have peaceful protests. Not everybody understands it should be peaceful.
Thank you so very much. Dr. Ambrose, I would love to, of course, ask you this very important question. Amnesty International has waded into this and more, and of course, they are the ones spearheading the call for those in authority to do what they should do, especially to allow these protesters to go home. That's those who have been, allegedly, held by the Nigerian police. But how far can this go? Do you think the current government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu would listen to Amnesty International, knowing, of course, they are more international and their voices would reign around the world?
It was actually surprising to many Nigerians that Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president, who was, a successful and very, very prolonged activism in protests, would not allow protest. Look at all the efforts the government put in to ensure that the protest did not hold. People were, even people who don't have business with political statements, like the chief of army staff and some of that, the chief of defense staff, they were talking about treasonable felony. What's their business? Are they the lawyers? Are they the legal advisors to the government? So, so the whole place was charged beyond unnecessarily. If government, even in the military era, where there was brutal despotism, people like Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is the president now, and a few of them under the aegis of Nadeco, were able to confront the military. They killed some of them. Some of them went to exile, including the president, the current president. They ran away, went to exile. And then from exile, they kept on, pressuring the government, a military government. And finally, the military government succumbed. So that is the power of protest. But unfortunately, those who were the beneficiaries of that protest do not want protest to take place. I don't know how you reconcile that dichotomy, that conflict, that paradox. I don't know how you want to, reconcile it. And what happened in Kano to me was a failure of intelligence.
Failure of intelligence.
Because when it started, the police were not. If the police were sent to say, okay, we were ready to protect protesters, let them come out, and there were police presence and everything, those things will not happen. So for me, it was a failure of intelligence in the first place for what happened in Kano and Maiduguri to have happened at all. Then, in 2015, Amnesty International published a report of extensive research and documentation titled "Welcome to Hell: Documentation of Police Torture in Nigeria." I think that thing should still be a public document for people to look at. The Nigerian government came that time and was vociferous in denouncing that report and labeling it that they are tissues of lies. But again, we are Nigerians, and we know what happens to us. And so that document is 9 years old, but it still talks about what is happening everywhere in our security apparatus. Therefore, we should look into what Amnesty International is saying, because they are very versed in this kind of thing. Rather than taking it as an attack, the government should also look inwards. The government should try to see how they can, change the narrative in our security apparatus. The citizens are not animals. The citizens are not people who don't love the government. The citizens love their country, and they just want the country to be better. And I think that should be the mindset of all the security agencies too, to say, okay, how do we do this? How do we make these things happen so that there can be harmonious, coexistence? We saw what happened in the United Kingdom, in England, that at the same time the bad governance was going on. There was some sort of, that one was even, homophobia and a sort of riot. But we could still have the British government moved swiftly, and we could even see that other few hours, people were being prosecuted. People were the courts were jailing people who were masterminds of that deadly riots that saw the deaths of many people. But under some few hours, you could see that the British government had tried the people caught, and they were already, some of them were already jailed. That is swift justice, and that is how to act. Now, an aspect that is worrisome is also that a lot of the civil society organizations in Nigeria have gone silent or have gone dead. We don't have that activism of what we had in the 90s.
And why do you think that's the case? And why do you think it is the case?
Well, I don't know. But basically, the masterminds of civil society and the owners of civil society are not those in government. I think that is the case now. Oh. They are not those in government. Because even as at 2012, 12 years ago, there was a robust coalition of civil society. They called themselves Save Nigerian Group, SNG. Had a coalition of people, different societies that came together to fight the removal of fuel subsidy. The same people who fought the removal of fuel subsidy were the first people to remove fuel subsidy on the first day of government.
Yes.
So that is always the paradox, So what has made civil society was that the owners of civil society in the past 30 years in Nigeria are now the people in government. Therefore, we need a new generation of activists, of advocates, civil society advocates, and the rest to come up, so that there can be, there can be fresh ideas and how to do this thing.
Thank you.
If we don't have new people coming up to actually now, start engaging and having advocacies and fighting for the masses, we're in for a long haul of silence. And the silence actually affects the citizens negatively.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Ambrose. Barrister Tunji, he made a very important submission there. When the CSOs who fought for the good of Nigeria are now the one in authority, it's a big issue. Now, speak to us on the issue of CSOs being used as a Trojan horse, right, to gain power, and by the time they gain power, they totally forget what they were campaigning for. Speak to us on that and its effect going forward in Nigeria.
Let's differentiate the two. Those in government today are not CSO. They were politicians trying to use that avenue to get what they are looking for, and they've gotten it now. So they need to drop the ladder. Other people will not climb it. So they are not CSO. We don't have today. Most of the CSO that we have are not genuine. I tell you, that's the truth. Some of them are just using to cash out. Some of them are just being used by people in government. Some of them are just being, and that's how you see some of the CSO will come and say, we are in support of government, we are in this and that. I'm not saying there's no support of government when government is doing well. Then when you see masses going this way, even in this end bad governance, whatever. So some of the CSOs are saying we are holding a different protest. To say, look, government, right on, they are doing well. As if they are not suffering because they have collected money. So what I'm saying is that we don't have genuine CSO these days now. A lot of them are using it to collect money. Some collect foreign aids. Some are through the government. Some are, so that is not the reality.
Because there used to be a time when pressure groups like the NANS, National Association of Nigerian Students, were at the forefront of ensuring that things work. Now, the same NANS are the ones queuing at the gate of EFCC to say we appreciate what you're doing. And of course, holding meetings with Bola Tinubu to say you are the best president we ever had in Nigeria.
At that time, do you see any of the NANS president using any FICO official car? Today, they have a best car.
With 001.
Yes, they have it. They are also enjoying the benefit of what the politicians are enjoying. So they now romance with them. So when they've seen that when you romance properly with those in government, you make more money. So it's not about, and that's why you see division. In the NANS, you see this one say we are this, we are that, we are the fact. Now even have that. Then there was no regional president, there was no whatever. We have one
national.
And today we have different presidents, and people, everybody will be attacking one another. So when you use, they will divide, they will call this one to divide them, and then they will work together. So it's what I'm saying that and we are having all this because there is no genuine intention to serve the people. The intention is just to benefit themselves. So when you have intention to have benefit for yourself, there is no way you will see the right thing. In Yoruba, they say, once you chop a plantain, you won't be able to speak the truth. Some of them are eating with those in government. And when you are eating with those in government, you can't tell them the truth. And that's why you see some of them who come and start justifying what is not justifiable. And so until we have, just like you said, we have fresh CSOs who are genuinely interested in fighting. But the truth is that once those one also come on board and they are recognized, within a few months, they also become part of it. They introduce them into the system, and then they become part of the system. We are, all of us in this country, majority of us are just about what we want to benefit. Until we see the nation as number one, not our personal interest, we won't move forward. Whether CSO, and I've always been saying it, that it's not about CSO. Nobody should wait for any CSO to fight for us. So these are about Nigerian fights. There's nobody who will come and die while you are sitting in your house and you're expecting me to be facing a gun because I'm a CSO, I'm a part of the CSO or I'm an activist. No, there's no law that says your request must be by through the only government to account must be by people who are into activism or by lawyers or by whatever. We all Nigerians need to rise up, and that's why you see division when that end global governance. The government have infiltrated everybody, give money to people. Like you said, the Asoro become a maker of sorts, and the other people have not been able to have access to Asoro for the past for so many years. They have free access, and they were cashing out. And you see, the Kano issue and Kaduna issue was a surprise to them. they were not aware that any protest would come out.
And happen in the north.
Especially
that
in the
was
north.
like.
Yeah.
And let me also correct an impression. According to the Nigerian, it's not all people that have been arrested that have been released. He said only 27 of them were released. They arrested over 50 people or so.
Where?
In Lagos.
In Lagos.
That's according to the Nigerian. You know, he said he's a lawyer to the. He even said yesterday again. I watched him yesterday on TV. He said yesterday that about 50 that were arrested, about 27 have been released.
Okay.
Now we still have some of them in custody. So it is not. Let's put the record straight. So they were surprised about Kaduna issue because they did not expect that any protest would come out of it was a surprise to them, and that was why they didn't prepare, and that was why there was a failure of intelligence in Kano, and what happened. So for me, we don't have genuine CSOs. We are not saying all of them. There are very few genuine CSOs. Others are just trying to play game, make money for themselves.
All right. Sure. So, Barrister Evans, there's this accusation of concerning the federal government that they are playing a mind game, or they're playing a game of suppression on protesters and violation of their rights. But I'd like to also say that there's also another accusation that they're also playing a game of suppression on we, the citizens. You know, looking at it, they feel that we cannot have a say of our own. We can't fight for ourselves. And we look at the protests. We came out and we said, okay, we want, this is our demand. We want to end bad governance. And look at what has happened. So do you agree with that accusation that it's a game of suppression on the protesters and also on citizens?
But it's quite clear now. The suppression is not just the suppression of the voices of people, but it's also a suppression of the law, the Constitution, Chapter 4 of the Constitution that even guarantee life. Okay, those people who are in detention now,
yes,
their right to life is being threatened.
Okay.
Because detentions across Nigeria is not one you can say is a place of bliss. Okay, it was Eric Blair that later took the name George Orwell, wrote Animal Farm. Now, Animal Farm is sort of like a metaphor of the lifestyle then in Russia, when in that book, George Orwell owned the manual farm. So he was treating the animals very bad, just like an allegory. He woke up one morning having taken too much alcohol the day before.
Okay.
And they wanted to bully the animals to walk. But that night, before he came in, the animals have converged. Okay, there's a 16-year-old pig called Old Major that, had called all the animals together, and they've had meetings. And he told them that man is their greatest problem. That if they can eliminate man, their world will be that of bliss. That anything that works on 2 legs is an enemy. Anything that works on 4 legs is a friend. Then they concluded that meeting that night, and they established what they call an anthem: Beast of England, Beast of England, Beast of Ireland, Beast of every land and claims. Hearken to my joyful tidings of the golden future time. Sooner or later, that is coming, triumph shall be enthroned. So, when they establish all those principles,
Yes.
the animals now left, they all went to their own respective home. Because he was the oldest animal, he died that night, but had handed over the dream to the animals. Then Jones just came in the morning, started hitting everything. All the animals, the sun is already up, they are not out to work and all that. Then they struck, and that's how they threw Jones out of the place. And they took over. The brilliant pigs among them, Napoleon, Snowball, and some of them took over administration. You understand?
Yes.
And the horses like Bossa and the other that have serious energy, those ones were all working. You understand? Then they had the 10 commandments. All the commandments stated how administration will be run.
Yes.
You understand? But that same week, the milk that was produced by the cows, when they all converged to have breakfast, they were told that they have to go and eat grass. That the milk have been taken to the upper echelon where the pigs were. You understand? The 10 commandments, at some point, they clean everything on the road. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. What I mean is that most times in the political setting, when people sit back to complain, organize society, and then take We must take over. Just yesterday, I was watching Fashola's clip, 2014 or thereabout, when he was talking about a serious government will fix power. But it's just that this government is not their way. They always import. That if this government would have... Now, they did all that time. All that time. But when they got into the place,
Yes.
you understand? They started buying jets. They started coming up with supplementary budget to fund the office of the wife of the president,
Yes.
an illegal office. Just imagine Lai Mohammed, with the APC. Watch the PDP government buy jet. I don't know, you know Lai Mohammed.
Of course we know him.
Yes, at this point.
Yes.
You understand? They will be the one to call for protest, and the protest will not end until the government is overturned.
Yes.
You understand? But look at them today. Look at what is going on. So it takes man, sometimes they try to solve a problem. When they get there, they become the problem they assume office to solve. So what we have now is a classical case, a metaphor for what is going on, that these people have no solution. These presidents have never been president before.
Yes.
Have never led before.
Yes.
Have not seen the handover notes before he became president. Have not seen everything when he started his own policy on how the government will run. That subsidy is gone. He has not read anything. He doesn't know anything about how this thing will go. He says subsidy is gone.
What if you had done that behind the scene or before assuming
No. You're supposed to know the direction of things before you start policies. So on the first day you came and then you're not prepared. Then you are also too arrogant to even admit that. After some months, you now send your coordinating minister to tell us that you are still paying subsidy.
All right.
So it's a whole lot.
There's a lot. Dr. Ambrose, I think it's very important that I ask you this question, because you are at the forefront of what I'm about to ask now. You are the chairman, the Guild of Public Affairs Analysts, and it seems to us right now that analysts in Nigeria who have made themselves available on traditional media, on the new media, are the ones now speaking for Nigerians, and in some cases have had things work for the people because of their analysis. I'd love to ask you, do you think at this point, in order to get the government to do what they need to do, should we have some sort of filters when we analyze some things, or should we just allow it run, or such that the government would see reasons since they don't want us to protest?
The media space in Nigeria have always played their role. The press been very active from the days of pre-independence, from the days of the Times, from the days of New Nigeria, from the days of Tribune, West African Pilots, to the days of Daily Times and Punch and the rest. So, and then to the days of the regulation of the broadcast sector, broadcast media started participating in engaging governments. So the media have always played their place. Remember the time of the annulment of the June 12th, where the media was being haunted, where people like Tel Magazine started to want to call guerrilla journalism, where you were going to print, your printing press is not known, and addresses are not known, because when it is known, the brutal jackputs of the military come over and deal with you. I also remember the decree, I think decree number 2, the one that proscribed press in Nigeria by Buhari as a military head of state. Despite that, the press also forged on. So recently, maybe in the last 15 years or so, a new angle of the press started coming in, which is this advocacy we do through. We are not just commentators, because there's a difference between just being a commentator to comment on issues. But now we analyze issues, and every issue that affects the public, and that's what we call public affairs analysis. And it has, it has gained traction over the years to the extent that there's even a national body now. So what the public affairs analysts now do is to espouse the issues, interrogate the issues, offer prescriptions and recommendations, as well as do some incisive analysis. Sometimes we get into trouble with government, because a good analyst should be able to, although some analysts are political analysts in the sense that they have political affiliations, anything that the government does is okay. some are oppositions. Anything government does is not okay. But that is not how analysis should be. Analysis should be very robust. You should be fearless in your analysis, but it should be factual also. And that is what has been guiding many of us, that we do this dispassionately. And we have been playing a very serious role in the past 15 years. And this is always a way to vent what Nigerians see, because there are different analysts from different backgrounds, and they're able to vent what the public is. But again, you still see some members of the public even calling you, even from your friends or family. I think those are the masses calling you that, don't say this on TV, or they will come and kill you, they will arrest you, they will detain you, they will do this. And you see such coming up, and some of our members have also suffered it. So some journalists have suffered it, but has not stopped journalism and the media space and public affairs alike from playing their role. So it is a role of engagement, it is a role of advocacy, it's a role of holding government accountable. And the media platforms have provided public affairs analysts with veritable platforms to be able to ventilate their opinions, their comments, their prescriptions, recommendations, and even castigations. So that is what we are doing here. A lot of TV stations also do it, a lot of radio stations do it, a lot of blogs, a lot of newspaper open their columnists come also to ventilate their ideas. And so this makes it all robust. And let me tell you, some people will say, oh, you people keep talking. You see you talking, nothing changes. It is not true. If you remove the public affairs analysts, their interventions, the government will be more emboldened. That means there will no dissenting voices. There will no voices to hold them accountable, to remove the media space. So they listen. I remember some issues that, were not government did, and the public affairs analysts came up to talk about it. And before you know, it gains traction. Because when you talk about it, that is the role of the media communication, or called agenda setting. Because sometimes these things are done, and news in its own nature does not go deep. It just gives you the information, and that this happened. That is what news does. So, but when it comes to agenda setting, and when it talks of analytic presentations, you'll be able to discuss further what the news says. And it is discussing the news and discussing events that we're able to formulate analysis and the rest. News does not give you the advantage of doing your own personal analysis of issues, and that is what features does, articles does, opinion does in print, while analysis also in print and broadcast media. So we should keep on pushing forward. We should keep on providing spaces. We should even try to organize debates, especially among the young ones. We don't talk about NANS, National Association of Nigerian Students, now being just a ceremonial arm of whoever comes in power. I think they should also bring opportunities for the young minds to also come, which will have a team of analysts from universities and be able to give them platform. Media houses should be able to also play that advocacy role. Not everything is not about money, it's not about airtime. Young people want to come and talk, you said they should pay airtime. No, I think we should also create our CSR. The media industry in Nigeria should start placing their corporate social responsibility by providing time, by grooming young analysts to be able to ventilate ideas. In this way, government can be held more accountable. And before they do this, they could look back and say that there's some people watching us.
All right, thank you so very much. But Cindy, just before we wind down for today, professionally, I know the Take Back Nigeria, they have a legal team that is taking care of this. But at this point, when protesters are still being held, what do you think professionally that these people would do? I mean, the legal team could do further in order to see that those in authority, their feet is, of course, brought to the fire.
Yeah, I think they are doing what they are supposed to do. I don't know what they are doing yet now. They are just following up. But for me, if I were to be part of them, I would suggest that they file a fundamental enforcement proceeding against the government to release them. Because once you are detained beyond the 24 hours or 48 hours without any court order, that is infringement of your rights. And you have the right to go to court for enforcement of it. So I'm not sure whether or not they are being detained based on order of court now. Maybe the police have gone to court to obtain an order. But if there is no order of court, which gives the police the right to continue to detain them, they will have the right to go to court and fight for fundamental enforcement. And if there's an order, they can ask for setting aside of that order, and then they ask them to be released. So those are the steps they can take. They can file processes in court. But you see, even when you get the order, how is it going to be obeyed? That's that question that we're going to ask, because I'm aware that so many of that in that regard, and those people are still in custody up to now, some of them. So, like I said, we need to operate a country where the rule of law is respected, where everybody see the rule of law as nobody is above the law. So if the judgment is against the government ought to obey that particular judgment. So but for me, like I said, they need to intensify their efforts, take legal steps, and legal steps here means approaching the courts to determine whether or not that continuous detention is in line with the law or is not in line with the law. If you have a case against them, take them to court. If you don't have, I believe you, as soon as a case is filed in court, you see a charge will be filed.
Very true. By Stefan Ufeni, those that participated in the NSAR, some of them are still being held. Now on hashtag #bad governance, we have lots of them still being held. October 1st, there is this rumor that there could be another protest. How do you think we can better manage all of this so we wouldn't have more people behind bars?
Lawyers should take further steps when they have an order of court, an order for protesters who have been detained to be released. Where the police declines, lawyers know what to do. They take further steps to file actions for contempt. Actions for contempt will mean that the Inspector General of Police will have to come to show cause, or he'll be committed to prison. Okay, in rare cases where that have been done against Bauer, former EFCC chairman, and against DSS and then the former IG of police. You understand? In all those cases, when they came to show cause, they released the people kept in detention. Okay, even before they came to show cause. You understand? So it's not enough to get an order of court. You must make attempt to enforce the orders of court. And the provisions of law are there. So when you take your order and say, see, I have an order, I have written them and they refuse to, the law expects you to go further. Okay? And for those who are in detention, I mean, lawyers are the ones that have the technical know-how of how to get them out. So the lawyers should do more, ensure that they put more pressure. There's no offense under our law as protesting. We have offense as stealing, conversion, you have all those offenses. But when it comes to protest, there's nothing like that as a crime under our law. So whoever is in detention, anywhere in the country, is entitled to bail. And then let the government now file a charge against them and come and prove in court that truly they committed an offense. That's why the court exists. You understand?
All right, that's just the size of our package today. We'd love to say thank you so very much, Dr. Ambrose Ibuke, for being part of our show today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We truly do appreciate your time. Thank you so very much. Well, Dr. Ambrose Ibuke is the chairman, Guild of Public Affairs Analysts of Nigeria, Enugu State chapter. And we'd love to say thank you, Barrister Francis Ofeli, for being part of our show. Barrister Tunji Abdulhamid, thank you as always.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you. Roberta, thank you.
Thank you, Henry.
All right, but most importantly, we'd love to say thank you to our esteemed audience watching us from around the world. We'd love to say thank you so very much for giving us your time whenever we truly do call. But please do well to visit our site at enterprisetvnews.com for more information, and also like, comment, and subscribe on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. I am Henry Igwebike.
And I am Roberta Biafo.
On behalf of the entire team, thank you once more, and bye-bye from us.
All right.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.